Welcome to Nasdaq TradeTalks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us at the MarketSite studio, we have Kaplan, co-founder and CEO of Prometheum, to discuss why institutional interest in digital assets experienced a resurgence in 2023, but integration into the largest financial systems has been relatively slow. Aaron, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to TradeTalks.
Thank you for having me, Jill.
You got it. Tell us about Prometheum and the platform that you've built, and how are you seeing institutions participate or not in crypto for 2023?
So institutional interest has really seen a resurgence in 2023. We've seen the renewed interest in the spot Bitcoin ETF filings with Fidelity and BlackRock. We've also seen JP Morgan exploring the blockchain payment space, and really there's a lot more. Overall, what we're seeing is that there is significant interest from major institutions in exploring and understanding the opportunities presented by digital assets and blockchains.
If this is the case, why has the integration of crypto been relatively slow into these larger financial systems?
So one challenge that has really prevented the full embrace by institutional investors has been on the custody side. And really what we've seen is that there's sort of a patchwork of state and federal regulations which lead to some sort of confusion and make it difficult for fiduciaries to be able to determine how they can remain compliant. But what you have there is you have the state level, and state level custodians are not necessarily held to the standards required by federal custodians, which makes it even more complicated for compliance departments to determine. Overall, though, the safest and most compliant way by which an institution can participate in the digital asset space is through federally licensed entities that allow for uniform regulation nationwide.
Mm-hmm. How do you think the SEC's proposed changes to custody of crypto assets will affect this?
So the SEC recently proposed changes to how digital assets would have to be custodied. And the major takeaway is that there's a transition from state licensed custodians to federally licensed qualified custodians, of which Prometheum Capital is one of the few. Overall, what we're seeing, this is a process to make sure and to allow for the integration of digital assets into the larger financial markets, as digital assets really present opportunities that allow for innovations to be applied to all asset classes, whether it comes to how assets are issued, traded, cleared, settled, and custodied. But in order for that to occur, there needs to be a compliant pathway by which institutions can participate in this space, and it's through securities licensed platforms like Prometheum Capital, where institutions which are either licensed as broker-dealers under the securities laws or under the banking laws will be able to compliantly participate in the digital economy.
What do you think's next for the industry? It feels as if we're at a standstill until we get more clarity to your point.
Well, as securities licensed platform like Prometheum Capital come online, it'll present a way forward. The current situation where crypto is at war with regulators is not tenable, and there needs to be an alternative trading and custodial solution that will allow for both retail investors to be protected and for institutions to compliantly participate in this space. And once that occurs with platforms like Prometheum Capital coming online, that'll lead to the next wave of institutional adoption.
Right, and Prometheum has been in the news a lot following your SPBD acquisition. What's the latest with the firm's push towards going live?
So we hope to be going live at the end of Q4, maybe very beginning of Q1 on the custodial side through Prometheum Capital. And that'll really mark the first time that digital assets are compliantly custodied under the securities laws, which then will create the environment whereby institutions can feel comfortable participating in this space, and therefore we see the next wave of institutional adoption.
All right, Aaron, appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.